Hello, my name is Ilona, and in this video about shadow work, I want to talk about this feeling of feeling powerless or this feeling of injustice. Maybe get very angry if you realize what's been going on, which is a very natural response, especially when you hear about the horrible things that's been going on with the children just worldwide, what they've been doing, creating poverty, horrific things, the experiments they tried on us. All these things can make you very, very angry. And to be very honest, that's very natural, and the best thing you can do is just feel through that. It's very natural that you will feel that way, or feel this feeling of being powerless, like you're not in control. And it's very important that we feel that, because that's what's been going on. We haven't been in control for a very long time. The dark energies took our energy, programmed us, used us, divide and conquered us. They've been manipulating us, and it's very important that we get in touch with that feeling of anger. We need that. We need to get in touch with that feeling of powerlessness, that apparently we weren't capable of doing anything about that, because we need to feel through that. That feeling of powerless, of being not in control, usually comes from past lifetimes, maybe even future lifetime, because ultimately, time doesn't really exist, but it's from other lifetimes, maybe even in other dimensions or other galaxies. There are a lot of us that come from different, like star seeds. They come from different dimensions helping us out. It's very likely that we still carry some of that in ourselves, especially with Atlantis, the fall of Atlantis. A lot of people, if I speak for myself, a lot of pain, a lot of anger, a lot of feeling guilty about what has happened. It's important that we feel through those things. It goes very, very deep. And we just have to breathe through it. We just have to accept that that's what we feel, especially with feeling powerless, that we do not have that power. We have to feel through it to connect with our power again. It's very likely that in past lifetimes or in other situations, we have given away our power. We've let this happen. We've let them manipulate our energies. Whatever reason was behind this at a very spiritual, highly spiritual level, there is a reason for that, but we've let it happen. So we can feel a lot of anger, a lot of resentment in ourselves. And it's important that we feel through that we just accept it, breathe through it, so we can connect with our own power again. That feeling of being powerless is actually still being manifested, because a lot of us are still carrying that around. That's why you feel that anger when things are coming up, or when you feel powerless with what's happening with children. That is very understandable, because a lot of us still carry that with us, and it's important that we start healing that. So if you feel that, if something makes you very angry, look at that anger, feel through it, because that is a way of connecting again with our true power. It's in the way, so to speak. It's still in our energy. So if we still have unresolved feelings of feeling powerless, we will manifest that. So we will manifest situations where we are powerless. So things are happening around us that we don't have any control over. That's why it's so important to look at those feelings and accept it, breathe through it. What I do want to mention, if you're working with your shadow part, with pain, fear, anger, maybe even sadness, and all these feelings and emotions, it's very important that you take your time, but also do other things. So you don't have to just sit in your feelings and emotions. It's very important that you ground yourself as well. So that was something that was kind of an issue with myself. I've noticed that sometimes I was so in my feelings and emotions and the anger or the sadness that I kind of lost myself in that. So it's very important to maybe do that for half an hour or an hour, just see what comes up, and then do something very grounding, like going for a walk or doing something around the house or doing something like gardening, something very grounding that brings you back into your body. That is very, very important. We are more than just our feelings and emotions. We are more than just our mind, in just our mental capacity. We are also a body. We need to give attention to all things that we are. So it's very important when you're working with these feelings, with these emotions, that you ground yourself. That so if you've been in that feeling or emotion for a while, that you just do something completely different. Just like I said, go for a walk, or maybe talk to someone, or just do something that grounds you. Maybe prepare a meal for yourself or for your family or loved ones. It's very important to do that, especially when you're working with your shadow parts, to ground yourself, to be in your body. Also do physical activity. So we need to pay attention to all parts of ourselves: our body, our mind, and our feelings, emotions, our intuition, and our spiritual side. It's very important that we combine that all. But grounding, especially when you're walking through a lot of anger, feeling powerless, which usually is very connected with anger or maybe even sadness, that you also make sure that you physically connect. Sometimes it's very, helpful to really do something exhausting just to get your anger out of your system. Do something physical like boxing or something to get that blood pumping, and really maybe even scream. See what is good for you, but feel through it. Do not be afraid of it. Do not push it away like, oh, I don't want to look at this. I want to be in this beautiful new energy, so I don't want to feel anger, or I don't want to feel this pain or this injustice, this feeling of injustice. We need to go through all this to really start creating this new energy. We need to heal this. We need to heal this anger in ourselves, this frustration in ourselves, this feeling of being powerless. We're not powerless. We're not. We need to transform that feeling so we can start creating fully. So that's what I wanted to mention about feeling this injustice, this anger. I also want to talk about resistance. Especially resistance is a very interesting thing, and it can help you. I use resistance, especially in my life, to figure out where I still am, where I still have some parts in me I need to look at. So if I'm maybe looking at a certain part in my life that I want to transform, I want to change, doesn't feel right, maybe certain people in my life or friendships, and I'm taking a look at that, and I notice there is resistance. It's not going the way I want to go. Well, that can mean, first of all, that there's a conviction in me that's in the way, that's materializing this situation. So it's very important to look at things like, if I want to change things in friendships, or in in relationships, in things like that, or with family members, or just in general, I want to change something, and I've noticed it's not going that way. It's possible that I don't feel worthy enough, I don't feel loved enough, I don't feel that I deserve that, or I deserve to receive something like that. So it's very important, if there are things you want to change in your life and it's just not happening, to look inside yourself. What conviction do I have? What belief system do I have? What is triggering? What do I feel when it's not going the way I want to go? What's going on? So it could mean that. So resistance is a way of looking at yourself, to perfecting what needs to be changed. So it is a very, a mirror of changing things. Then the second thing is, there's a possibility that you're starting to change. So for instance, you want to put up more boundaries. You've always been very flexible, very adaptable. So someone asks for your help, you always say yes. And you feel like I'm giving away too much of my energy, so I'm going to stop doing that. I'm going to change that. I'm going to change that. And of course, you look inside yourself as well. Why am I doing this? Usually it's the way you were brought up. There are still some things you can work out with your inner child or just with certain convictions. So you're working on that and you're putting up boundaries. Then of course you're going to meet resistance in your life. If you've surrounded yourself with people that are, of course, thinking it's fine that they can, how to say this, live off of your energy, then of course they're going to be resistant to this. They're not going to appreciate your changing. And then it's important that you see that this resistance has to do with the fact that you're changing things. And it takes some time when you're working energetically to change everything. So it will also be in that period of time for you to see who resonates with you and who doesn't, and to really truly put up your boundaries. And if people are meant to be in your life, they will change along. They will not ultimately turn away from you. But if there are certain people that really just want to use you and use your energy, then it's better that you just let them go. So resistance could also mean that you are changing things, and you're going to see resistance because you're changing the situations around you, and you're changing your reaction, you're changing your energy. In that way, you should see that as something that you're on the right path. So people are reacting towards you, and then it's very important that you're not going to get confused, but stick to yourself, stick with what you want to, how do you say that? Put out the energy you want to, if you want to put up boundaries, stay with that. Don't change that. Don't think, oh, I'm meeting all this resistance, I must be doing something wrong. No, you're doing it right. It just means that you have to change things, and certain people and certain situations shouldn't be in your life. And that's also very important. If you meet resistance, or you're working on a friendship and you've looked inside yourself, you're trying to work things out and it just doesn't work, or even relationship, it could also mean resistance, that it's time to let go, that it just doesn't resonate with you. And usually, if I look at myself, you feel this feeling of just certain point you get that it doesn't bother you that much, or it doesn't affect you anymore that much. So a certain person, it's almost like you're starting to lose a certain interest. Now, if you feel that, if you feel like you're losing interest, or this isn't going anywhere, or this, the resistance getting stronger and stronger, then it's time to just let go of someone. And that can be very painful. And then it's also very important to look inside yourself. Why am I holding on to this certain person or this certain situation? It's also possible in jobs that you're holding on to a job more from security, or afraid to let go, that you're not going to be out of money, or you're not going to make it. Those are all convictions. So it could be that it's like all three reasons all mixed into one. So it could be convictions that are holding you back. It's time to let go. And you're already changing inside yourself. So it's very important to just look at resistance. If you meet resistance, look inside yourself first, see if something comes up, and then you can kind of just follow along what feels right to you. So if it's time to let go of certain situations, certain people, then let go of that. So resistance is very important as a mirror where you are and where you're at. And especially if there are areas in your life that has some certain resistance, or it doesn't feel right to you, it's a perfect mirror to take a look at things. What's going on there? What do I want to change? Where am I holding on to? What kind of convictions do I have? So resistance is a very important tool, especially with shadow work, to start working and start looking in your life and changing things. So I'd like to leave it at this and hope to see you in another video. Bye.